Taylor Swift is white, and she likes white people. Oh, and she uses words in the English language. Come on, that's reason enough to hate her. Let's explore. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Now, I don't usually do pop culture oriented videos. I think this is the second or third time I do this, but given that I advocate for non-leftist and by extension sane people to join the pop culture and reclaim it for the loons, well, I might as well get rolling and practice what I preach. So, ever since Taylor Swift made her comments on feminism, Taylor Swift as a keyword remained on my radar. And thanks to that, this particular gem has come up into my feed. And it's so insane that I thought I'd share it with you all. So I'm going to read the most of it because we need to get used to the disordered worldview of the modern day cultural critics. So, Bustle.com, an article by Gina Florio, 5 important reasons I can't love Taylor Swift anymore. And goes like this, quote, "Know this, I used to love Taylor Swift. She was the one I ran to when my first serious boyfriend dumped me days before my 18th birthday. She was the one who cheered me up when my grandma died. We're only a few months apart in age, so I feel like we sort of grew up together. But as much as I adored her in our teenage years, particularly during the love story days, we've gone our separate ways recently due to our irreconcilable differences. I've officially broken it off with her." I guess proper grammar is oppressive. Anyway, she goes on with a lot of nonsense, so let's skip that and go straight to the reasons. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, 1. Her music videos are full of cultural appropriation. Taylor Swift got some real heat for her Shake It Off music video, and rightfully so. Just like Miley Cyrus and Katy Perry before her, she used parts of black hip-hop culture for entertainment without showing any real interest in the people who created them. Many people claim it was done differently than her counterparts because it wasn't done seriously, but it's not her place to make fun of twerking. Although I was disappointed in Shake It Off, I'm a pretty reasonable person. Right. So I was willing to forgive her for this misstep. Then I saw her Wildest Dreams video. This time I couldn't find any excuses on her behalf. In this video, she and the creators romanticize white colonialism in Africa as if it's a fabulous thing to behold. The landscape and wild animals are mere props in a storyline that painfully echoes European imperialism. To top it all off, there isn't a single person of color in the whole 4-minute video. Because we all know that you must have Negroes everywhere, otherwise it's racist. It's funny that no one complains that Japanese videos have no whites in them. Anyway, the romanticized white colonialism in Africa portion leads to a Huffington Post article which attempts to make the case that that video is politically incorrect, and its first argument in the very first paragraph is that it feels a lot like white colonialism. Yes, it feels. That's a very profound and convincing argument, isn't it? Anyway, let's see the second reason. 2. She constantly displays white feminism. Now, according to progressives, white feminism is any expression of feminist thought or action that is anti-intersectional, which translated into common English is anything said by a white person that adheres to feminism and fails to kowtow to the black neo-nationalist ideology such as Black Lives Matter. I call them neo-nationalists because at least the old black nationalists, like the Nation of Islam for instance, these pansies are a bunch of cucks who haven't uttered a single coherent phrase that has any connection whatsoever with the real world. So, are we clear what white feminism is? Okay? So, how is Taylor Swift displaying white feminism? Well, by disagreeing with a non-white woman, of course. Quote, I wouldn't be surprised if you're bored to death of hearing about the Twitter squabble between Taylor Swift and Nicki Minaj that took place last year. As much as it was painted as just another catfight by some media outlets, though there was a much deeper meaning. It was indicative of how blind most white women in Hollywood, especially Taylor, are to racial injustices that women of color face every day. Nicki was simply noting how black women are hardly ever recognized in the music industry, even though they are significant influences on pop culture. She also called out the fact that winning videos always feature women with very slim bodies. Instead of recognizing the heart of Nicki's comments, Taylor jumped in and accused Nicki of pitting women against each other. She thus exhibited the crux of white feminism, completely ignoring serious race-related issues while strutting a feminism that is defined as women sticking together. As Noshin Iqbal wrote for The Guardian, that's a very trustworthy source, Nicki was, quote, archetyped as the angry black woman, whilst Taylor was bizarrely cast as the feminist hero. I have yet to see any display from Taylor that would indicate she cares about women of color and their struggles. She defines feminism as, quote, another word for equality, end of quote, and complains about the double standards we still face. While those are valid concerns, she is not interested in the immense struggles non-white women face every day. So, Taylor Swift disagreed with a complete and utter loser and doesn't kowtow to the latest incarnation of race baiters whilst she calls herself a fembot. A feminist. As such, she displays white feminism. If it sounds retarded, it's because it is. And I call the other one a complete and utter loser because, well, she is. Just go on YouTube and listen to one of her songs. Any of them, if that's not cancer, I don't know what it is. I'll try to leave a suggestion in the low bar. Anyway, reason number 3. Her use of squad is also culturally appropriated. Jesus Christ. The hashtag squad goals took off running in 2015 after Taylor started bringing on stage a band of famous girlfriends at all of her concerts, including Karlie Kloss, Cara Delevingne, and Selena Gomez. Hashtag squad goals is a term that refers to a list of objectives that a group of female friends want to accomplish together, and one of their achievements to date is starring together in the music video for Bad Blood, which won MTV Video of the Year. Since then, Taylor's squad has become infamous. However, she is even culturally appropriating the term squad without ever acknowledging where it came from. When you look at the history of the word squad and its original meaning, it's easy to see it points to a very small group of underdogs. One analysis even says that you can't say squad without inferring a struggle. This is precisely why it has become an important term for blacks who have united against the systemic racism they have faced for generations. They have banded together for much-needed allies both in life and in the music industry. Jesus Christ. Taylor, though, has stolen this word from marginalized communities and is overusing it to exhibit her pack of merry supermodel friends. Yutnik Mayard wrote for The Guardian, again with The Guardian, about this cultural appropriation and said that by claiming this term, Taylor was feeding into the white-splaining of black culture. She says, quote, Taylor Swift is basically quoting the language of the oppressed without any inclusion of the people who are responsible for its meaning in the first place. What? So, the word squad, the basic noun in the English language that is a Negro word on which the Negro community has a trademark, and Taylor Swift cannot and should not use it because some dumb bitch at The Guardian said so. This author suggests that we should look at the history, but, the word squad comes from the Latin word exquadare, and its first uses in the English language dates back to late 1640s. That would be before the United States existed as a nation, and way before the transatlantic slave trade. This is the level of discourse, folks, and it works. It simply works with young minds. Anyway, let's go through the last two reasons. 4. And the demographics of her squad are problematic. They're supermodels and singers. They're tall and thin. With the exception of one or two, they're white and blonde. And yeah, they're all pretty. This royal crew is a symbol of feminism in Taylor's mind. She thinks she's educating her female fans on the importance of sticking together for the sake of women's rights. The problem, though, is that it's merely a symbol of white feminism. All-inclusive intersectional feminism, the kind of feminism we need to see displayed today from women in position of power like Taylor, isn't just meant for the able-bodied Anglo-Saxon cis-straight women on magazine covers. The nature of her squad is about as shallow a representation of feminism as you could possibly get. As Jill Filipovich wrote for the Washington Post, feminism is more than just supporting your girlfriends and churning out charming catchphrases about girl power. Besides, I don't know about you, but when I look at pictures of Taylor's girl squad, I'm slammed with PTSD from my childhood days of getting bullied. Evidently, I'm not the only one. E.G. Dixon wrote a savvy piece for Mike called "The Reason Why Taylor Swift and #squad goals are totally disturbing," reminding us that although female friendships can be strong and useful in today's world, they can also be a scary shade of girl cliques. For those of us who don't look anything like this mini sorority, and let's face it, the majority of us don't wear a size 0 and aren't 6 feet tall, watching them flail around on stage together can be unsettling. It's easy to feel left out when we look at them. It's even easier for young girls to eventually believe that this is what the average group of girlfriends should look like. Now, translation into English. Taylor Swift likes white women who are healthy and look good for their age. And since I'm a land whale that looks horrible for my age, I can't accept that because I feel left out. Because we all know that if Swift were to change the demographics of her videos and put in some Tumblerinas there, everyone will be quick to watch her clips and buy her albums. Surely that's the case. Anyway, the fifth and the last reason is that she refuses to acknowledge her privilege. And it's essentially that she doesn't apologize all day long that her parents were wealthy or that they invested in her talent with karaoke competitions, canto lessons, and everything else normal parents who believe in the talent of their child will do, sometimes at the expense of their own welfare. Also, she says she had to overcome a lot to get to where she is, and that's problematic because there are so many Negroes out there that don't get her level of stardom. That's essentially the argument for reason number 5. Because we all know that if an artist doesn't become a star and the artist is not white, it can't possibly be because the artist simply doesn't appeal to such a large public or that the artist simply is crap. No, it can't be that. It has to be the lack of privilege and racism. Anyway, now many of you are probably already typing, but Lucian, why do you care? You don't listen to Taylor Swift and most of your audience doesn't either. Well, yeah, it's true, I don't, and you probably don't, but your children do. And if your children don't listen, your children's classmates do. Whether we like it or not, the pop culture matters. And it's not my original idea, I got it from Bill Whittle, who usually says that Washington is just a very big fish in the ocean, but the pop culture is the ocean. And he's absolutely correct. I remember in 2012 when non-leftists on YouTube were depressed after the re-election of Hussein Obama, and I was like, really? It was bloody expected. The Romney side did absolutely nothing in the culture. Obama was the cool kid. He was hanging around with the most important pop culture figures, was speaking these kids' language, and knew the latest albums and the latest trends. Even now, Obama used pop culture to plug his disastrous healthcare bill, and it worked. Obama also does selfies and argues with metal bands. He not only knows his constituency, but has no problem in seeming natural when he uses pop culture memes to rally his base. Now, what's that got to do with Taylor Swift and the original story? Well, it's simple. Leftist ideologues, such as the author of the article I just read, or Obama, not only know that pop culture is important, but are strongly committed to continue to use it to forward a leftist agenda. I mean, this is no conspiracy, it's very out in the open, anyone can check it. The good news is that non-leftists have indeed started to get themselves involved into the pop culture. The bad news is that we're not moving fast enough. It's fine and joyful to notice the rise of cultural libertarianism, which is a term that I don't like at all for a variety of reasons, but it's not enough. Yeah, South Park mocking SJWs is great, but is it enough? Modern-day cultural critics like this Florio lady can openly display anti-white bigotry with no consequences, and that has got to change, and fast. Really fast. And this concerns us in Europe as well. I mean, François Hollande also won with the help of pop culture. The refugees welcome mass dementia was also supported mainly through the pop culture. Also, the biggest voice on the far left in Britain is a figure of pop culture. This is why we must start getting ourselves injected into that mix a lot more often than we did it so far. Yes, modern pop culture is largely degenerate, but it doesn't have to be. Yet it will if none of us is willing to even try to do his part. That's why I will at least try to inject pop culture content here and there, and I suggest you do the same. As I said in previous videos, this is a war, and we're barely started winning one or two battles, and that's good, but that was merely the first step. In 2016, we must do a lot more if we are to still have a culture in the future. And I'm very serious with this. This is not a joke. European societies and North American ones will live or die by their own pop cultures. I mean, like it or not, that's how it is. And believe me, I don't like it, but I didn't make the rules. Anyway, with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you around on Freedom Alternative.